What's up, Rapids fans? And on this week's edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, the Rapids struggle against San Diego, but now all eyes are on Rocky Mountain Cup. That and more on the Colorado Rapids podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Colorado Rapids podcast and this week's edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. I am your host, Mike Ravolo, joined alongside, remotely at least, by my good friend and resident Rapids legend, Drew Moore. Drewby, how we doing, dude? This is now a day after that we're recording, at least a day after the San Diego game. How's sunny San Diego? Is it in fact sunny right now?
It is, yeah. There's a few clouds, but it's been typical Southern California weather here in May. It's low 70s, nice, cool ocean breeze. It's been really nice weather-wise. This is a good away trip, certainly. People need to circle it on their calendar, and if they have an opportunity to come out here and watch a game at Snapdragon, I recommend it. Yeah, it's been overall a good first experience here in San Diego, despite the result, obviously.
Yeah, of course, we're going to get into that in just a bit. But listen, sunny, nice weather over there. Whereas right now, literally, I can hear the wind kind of kicking in here back home in Denver as is just carrying on. So typical Colorado weather. It's very nice and warm and sunny one day, and then it's just terribly windy the other. But yeah, as I'd mentioned, so Drew, of course, in San Diego right now because last night he was on the radio call with our good friend Connor Cape, calling the match between San Diego and the Colorado Rapids. So Drew, let's actually just get straight into it right now in terms of looking back at what happened last night between San Diego FC and Colorado Rapids at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. And to start off, Drew, San Diego kicked off the scoring in the 33rd minute.
Disappointing to concede on a set piece. The Rapids had thrown a lot at the match up to this point, and it's a set piece that lets us down, which we're typically so good on. McVeigh, it was his second opportunity too, so hard to concede on a set piece, Mike.
And then this awareness from Georgie, my goodness, Drew.
Yeah, Georgie continues to find moments to show not only his quality, but just a bit of improvisation. He's tried this before and was close. And I think this wins MLS goal of the week if it goes in. Dos Santos able to get back and tip it over the crossbar, but audacious and quality from Georgie Mihailovic.
In San Diego here, Drew, looking for the second off the left foot of Anders Dreyer after some quick transition on their part.
San Diego, they're top two in the league in possession, but a lot of times that possession allows them to get their playmakers on the ball in open space, and this was an opportunity that Dreyer wasn't going to miss. He's got the quality to finish these chances.
And then real quick, Ted Kuti Pietro off the bench, puts in a cross and earns a PK for the Rapids.
Yeah, the Rapids earned this PK, and it was a bit of a lifeline in this moment. And unfortunately, this is just the way things went on the night as Dos Santos saves Georgie Mihailovic's penalty. He's taken 4 or 5 now this year, and it becomes difficult because goalkeepers, they study your movements, they study your hips, and unfortunately just weren't able to get back in this match. That was the opportunity. Difficult road result. It's not easy to win on the road in Major League Soccer, Mike.
No, definitely not, especially against a good San Diego side. We're going to get into it, Drew. What we felt was a very complete performance from San Diego. But before we get into it and I get your general thoughts, Drew, on the match, let's go over the stats just to get a sense of how this match played out statistically. So with the shots, San Diego had 27 shots, whereas the Rapids had 9 shots on goal for San Diego versus 5 for the Rapids. 10 corners for San Diego, 3 for the Rapids. And then in possession, this is no surprise where San Diego had most of the ball with 59% possession, and the Rapids had 41% possession of the ball last night. So, Drew, I mean, you were there, like I mentioned, on the call with Connor Cape at Snapdragon Stadium. You were able to kind of use your 5 senses to get a real feel of how this game went down and see how it went down at Snapdragon Stadium. So what were your thoughts on the match overall last night between San Diego FC and the Colorado Rapids, Drew?
San Diego's a good side, and they proved that. It felt like everything or anything the Rapids threw at them, San Diego had an answer for. I thought the first 30 minutes, the Rapids were good. Stayed compact defensively, took a lot of what San Diego wants to do away from them. They didn't allow them to, to play through lines through the middle of the field. It forced San Diego into, diagonal passes and kind of being more direct, which they're capable of doing. And once they did that, Rapids had to adjust and open up a little bit, and then San Diego starts to play through you a little bit, right? And let's be honest, San Diego showed the Rapids a lot of respect by not making really any changes. They didn't rotate their squad at all. They had the spine of their team intact: Dreyer and Lozano, Godoy, De La Torre, Tverscoff, McVeigh, McNair. All their players, played on the night. And after the first 30 minutes or so, they get the set piece goal, and that's a dagger because, like I said, the Rapids threw a lot of energy. Were defensively organized the first 30 minutes, and a set piece kind of lets us down. And I think ultimately, Mike, just not enough chances in attack, not enough possession, right? We weren't able to, kind of put our foot on the ball and make them chase a little bit. Did a couple things early. Kevin Cabral was able to run in behind a couple times, but just not enough in attack, not enough teeth in, in the attacking side of the ball. And San Diego, I think, just kind of wore us down over the course of the 90 minutes, which they're capable of doing. Like I said, it's a good atmosphere at Snapdragon. I have to credit San Diego a lot. They had a good game plan, and anytime we kind of tweaked or adjusted something, they adjusted right back and were able to kind of solve those problems. And so, a tough midweek result that needs to quickly be put to the side for Rocky Mountain Cup on Saturday night.
Yeah, you said it, Drew. I think it was a spot on assessment of how last night went in this match, where it's difficult as it is, just going to an away stadium and having to be on the road to earn any sort of result in MLS. It's incredibly difficult, and let alone when you're up against a San Diego side last night. Like, let's be frank, like they were just on it the entire night. They had every solution possible on their behalf to eventually score the 2 goals, to get the 3 points that they needed. Minimal rotation, if any rotation at all, from the weekend when they played going into this match against the Colorado Rapids. Whereas you look at the Rapids, where they did rotate the squad a little bit. Because again, Drew, this is something I think that is important to do, regardless of what team you are in this league, because of how fixture congestion. Just you need to be able to rest guys and rotate, get other guys minutes who don't typically do, because
Of course.
and it takes everybody. It takes everybody. So like I mentioned, it was 6 changes that the Rapids made from their lineup, the starting 11 lineup versus San Jose on the weekend here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, going into this match at San Diego in Snapdragon Stadium. And it's one of those where it feels like you gotta toss in the bin a little bit, because you don't really have too much time to really look over, assess, and dwell on this result, on this match, considering what you have coming up in the weekend. And we're going to get into that a little bit. And one thing of note, in terms of the roster, one of the players in Rafa Navajo, so he was a miss. It was initially thought that there wouldn't be too much of a worry going from the initial kind of injury concern that he had when he came off against San Jose on Saturday. Not too much of it was thought, that it would be anything too serious, but it kind of became a day-to-day sort of thing. In the end, he did not travel with the squad for this match against San Diego, did not feature, obviously. And at this moment, listening to Chris Armas last night in the post-game press conference, where he said that right now it's day-to-day, but it's better, better just to not rush any of the guys, make sure that they're good to go for when they're ready to go, so as not to kind of inhibit, it kind of worsen the possibility of any situation, any injury situation with Hoffa in this case. So, Drew, it's the busy season, man. So I had mentioned with the Rapids in terms of rotating the squad, with 6 changes made from San Jose to the San Diego match last night. I mean, how important is it, man? Because it's a long season, and really, it's something where you need every single person, every single player available to come and pitch in as many minutes and as much play as they can during the season. No.
Yeah, it's important to be able to rotate your squad and show your depth. And I think the Rapids do have good depth. And Wayne Frederick comes in and gets his second start of the season. Keegan Rosenberry was back in the lineup. Sam Vines was back in the lineup. Ian Murphy gets his first start at center back, his more natural position in a little while now. And with Hoffa, missing the trip, it allowed, Chris Armas and his staff to look at, Darren Yappy and Kevin Cabral at striker together, and like I said, they caused some issues the first 30 minutes, and there was no poor performances, Mike. There really wasn't. I think there was a couple of unforced errors, from 5 or 6 guys, but for the most part, it was almost like we were just outperformed on the night, I think, and I don't want to just sweep it under the rug and say that's it, like let's move on, but you kind of have to sometimes. And so some guys got some extra minutes, some guys got a little bit of rest, and that's important during a busy stretch of the season, especially with a rivalry match on Saturday night. So yeah, I think this is a match where give San Diego a lot of credit, and go back and get back to Colorado and do what you have to do to prepare yourself for Saturday night.
Yeah, Drew, I'm with you. For me, when I saw the starting lineup going into the San Diego match, I didn't feel any level of concern or worry with some of the rotation that happened, right? So, I mean, you look at Keegan Rosenberry, Sam Vines, these are guys who have started multiple games for the club, know what it takes to be a starter and get things going from the get-go. But then you look at someone like Wayne Frederick, right, who's gotten a few starts here and there ever since he joined the club last season. But just seeing his name on the team sheet, I was not concerned in the least, because he has shown that he has earned his keep with this first team, with this group. He has the respect of the first team, and what he's able to do and contribute, how he's able to contribute. Obviously no concern whatsoever with Wayne Frederick. And then seeing Connor Ronan get his second consecutive start with the Colorado Rapids, after we had mentioned before where he just had a slow start between like injuries or just some things that he wanted to be mindful of, so that he's not rushed onto the pitch, and be able to find himself in the position that he is now, where he's starting, he's playing, he's contributing to this group again in what is a very busy period for the Colorado Rapids. So yeah, I think it just comes down to the fact that San Diego was absolutely on it, Drew. Like, there's no two ways about it. But the most encouraging thing for me is the fact that we have what feels like quite a bit of depth with the amount of players that we have, the experience that we have, even with what is a young group of players. So, again, this is one where you kind of, like, as much as we don't like to do it, as you said, Drew, sweep it under the rug, but there's not enough time really to kind of dwell on it, considering what's coming up on the weekend. So we're going to get into that in just a little bit. All right, Drew. Saturday, May 17th, the battle for Rocky Mountain Cup gets even bigger. After the Colorado Rapids first team game, fans can stick around for a second rivalry match as Rapids Unified takes on Real Salt Lake Unified. Every ticket includes a $5 donation to Special Olympics Colorado, and fans who stick around for the Unified game will have the chance to win several exciting prizes like signed jerseys, flyaway experiences, sweet tickets, and more. Let's pack the park and bring the same Rapids energy for our Unified athletes. Get your tickets now at coloradorapids.com. All right, Drew, here we go. This is it. This is the one that you circle on the calendar and you look forward to the very, very most. It is Rocky Mountain Cup coming up against Real Salt Lake this Saturday. The match is going to be here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, folks. This is the place to be on Saturday night. Maybe you can tune in on MLS Season Pass, what have you, but this is the place to be at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. So, again, this match between the Colorado Rapids and Real Salt Lake for Rocky Mountain Cup, the first leg of 2 legs this season in Rocky Mountain Cup. It's going to be Saturday, May 17th with a 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff. Where else, like I said, here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, to be able to come and cheer on your Burgundy boys to hopefully retain the cup after having won it last season in 2024. Let's look at how RSL's been doing lately, Drew, in terms of their record and some of the results that they've had lately. So, match day 11, they were at Vancouver and lost 2-1 there at BC Place. They went to Dallas the next week and earned a 1-1 draw. And then just last night, they were at home versus the Portland Timbers, where they had a 0-0 draw and only made a couple changes from their starting 11 from Saturday going into that match against the Portland Timbers last night. In terms of team comparisons here, so with records, Real Salt Lake, they are 4-7-2. The Colorado Rapids are 4-5-4. Points, Real Salt Lake have 14. Colorado have 16. Goals, Real Salt Lake have scored 13. Colorado have scored 15. Goals against, 18 against Real Salt Lake, 20 against the Rapids. And then average possession, Real Salt Lake at 52.3%, whereas Colorado are at 45.9%. 8.5%. And as I mentioned, back in 2024, the Colorado Rapids were the winners of the Rocky Mountain Cup after a three-leg series with Real Salt Lake. The first match, Colorado Rapids going to America First Field, earning a 2-1 win. Cole Bassett getting the game winner in that one. The second match, back at America First Field, it was a 5-3 win for RSL, and that was a match, Drew, if you recall, that I think everybody who tuned into that match, be it in Colorado, be it in Utah, be it anywhere in MLS, regarded it as one of the best matches they had seen that season. Of course, not favorable in terms of the result for the Rapids. And then finally, the last match of the series coming to Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And that was where Colorado earned the 3-2 win to ultimately win Rocky Mountain Cup, the first time since 2020 that the Rapids had been able to do so against Real Salt Lake. So looking at this, Drew, and this is it, man. Like this is the big one. This is the one match, if there's any match to look forward to as a fan, as a coach, as a player, as anyone who has anything to do with the Colorado Rapids. This is the match that you circle on your calendar and are looking forward to the entire year. This is it, man. Like you obviously have experience playing in this match. What has it been like for you? What has the experience been like for you playing in this match, which is more often than not is just, it can be very emotional and just a fight, a battle more often than not.
Yeah, get your popcorn ready. Put your seatbelt on. Invite your friends. Do whatever you have to do. Yeah, I think this rivalry still means a lot to these fan bases, and it should. It's always a dogfight. It's always high energy. I've told the story before, but when I first got to Colorado back in 2009, I was traded towards the end of the year, and one of the last games of the season, we had Salt Lake, come to town, and a security guard, the week before we played Salt Lake, as I was leaving the stadium, was like, what next week is, right? And I wasn't really thinking much of it at the time, and I was kind of like, no, like what? And she was like, it's Real Salt Lake, and you could just see it in her expression and hear it in her voice. It meant a lot, even to her, somebody that really only comes on game day. And so ever since then, I've understood the importance and the meaning of this rivalry, and it might get lost at times with 30 other teams, or I guess 29 other teams in this league, but to the Rapids, Real Salt Lake is still the team that, like you said, Mike, you circle on the calendar and you get yourself up for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, we can't emphasize enough that this is the big one. This is the match to look forward to if you're Colorado Rapids. Anybody to do with the Colorado Rapids, quite frankly, from fan to anyone who works at the club. It's everything. So going into this match, Drew, of course, Real Salt Lake, this is a side that I think for the first time, I would say, under Pablo Mastroeni, ever since he took over as head coach in 2021, that we've really kind of see them struggle a little bit. I would say a big part of that is kind of some of the sales that they did make with some of the important key pieces, important players that they did last season with an Andres Gomez, last summer going over to France. And they did try to reinforce last summer with some of the money that they made off some of those sales, and I think they have brought in some quality. It feels like they're slowly trying to find their rhythm and finding themselves in a better spot than they had been, to start this 2025 season. But of course, the one guy that runs the show for them, man, it's Diego Luna. This is right now he's at 7 goals and 2 assists. It's no secret, right, to anyone, whether you're the Rapids or anyone else in the league, that this is the guy who runs the show for Real Salt Lake. So, in terms of my player to watch, Drew, that let's get straight into this preview, of what's going to be a really important match for the Colorado Rapids. My player to watch on the Salt Lake side of things is going to be Diego Luna. It couldn't be anybody else. This is the guy who runs the show, is their creative outlet, sets the tone, creates chances and opportunities, be it for himself or for his teammates. Everything runs through Diego Luna. This is the guy that does everything and means everything and is everything for Real Salt Lake at the moment. Like I mentioned, he has 7 goals and 2 assists, whereas everybody else on that roster right now has an assist here and a goal there. So, statistically wise, and even just by watching matches, Real Salt Lake matches, you can clearly see that everything goes through Diego Luna. He's the one that sets the tone for them. So this is obviously the player that the Rapids are going to have to keep an eye out on. It's much easier said than done, obviously, Drew, because this is a guy that, he goes off the script a little bit with how creative he is. You know, he'll
Yeah.
find moments and find little ways to kind of squeeze into spaces to dribble or to find a pass and just create opportunities for himself and others. So Diego Luna is going to be my Salt Lake player to watch. Whereas for you, Drew, who's a Rapids player that you want folks to be able to keep an eye on for what is going to be, I mean, the most important match of the season?
Yeah, listen, if Diego Luna didn't break out last season, then this year it's not just a breakout year. He's one of the top creative, attacking players in the league, and their game plan is to kind of look for Diego Luna. He drifts, he turns up in the half spaces. He's got some good players around him that just they haven't quite meshed yet. I think you're right, Mike, and so taking Diego Luna out of this game as much as you can will give the Rapids a very good opportunity, to have a good performance defensively. I'm going to look for my player. If you're going to choose their number 10, I'm going to choose our number 10, Georgi Mihailovic. I think when you go through a tough spell, a tough run of results, you look to your best player, and Georgi Mihailovic is the Rapids' best player, and he's still shown and flashed his quality over the past 3 matches. But in a big rivalry match on a Saturday night at home, trying to pull yourself out of a rut, you look to your best player, and so Georgie for me is going to step up. He's gonna find himself on the ball in good areas and just create like we know he's capable of, whether he's scoring goals, getting assists. He's the guy that the Rapids will lean on on this occasion, and he is my Rapids player to watch to step up in a big moment.
I agree with that, Drew. Yeah, this is one of those matches where I think your biggest players need to step up in the biggest moments, right? Regardless of what team it is here. In this case, yeah, with you highlighting Georgia, I think it's spot on. Georgia has shown his quality ever since he's joined this club. In this league in general, even before that, right? We know that Georgia is a quality player, and obviously, hopefully, that we can see that on again the biggest game of the season against your biggest rival in Real Salt Lake. Speaking of how a rivalry match that coming up against Real Salt Lake, these matches can be a little bit different, Drew. So in terms of a key to the match, yes, we do talk tactics and this and that, but I feel like maybe what you're looking for in this match for the Colorado Rapids might be a little bit different than what we typically do for most other matches. No.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more intangibles. This is a game that always features a lot of emotion. We just talked about the occasion, what it means to the fans, what it means to the two clubs. There is a trophy on the line. You saw Chris Armas's celebration with C38 last season, holding the Rocky Mountain Cup. When the Rapids took it back from Real Salt Lake. So we know what this game means, and so I think to be able to manage those emotions during a busy week, a busy stretch for both sides, with your fans behind you 100%, going through a difficult spell, managing your emotions, right, and not allowing the occasion to take you out of what you do and what you do well. There will be goals in the match. There's always a referee in the match. There's typically some cards in this match. Can you manage your emotions and not let it get you out of the way you play? And I just one tactical thing, Mike, you look at the possession. Salt Lake, they do like to possess the ball, almost 54% possession on average in their matches. This is an opportunity. Can the Rapids just kind of close off space, win the ball high up the field, get Georgie on the ball and go in transition? So that's just my little tactical piece. But overall, the key for me is just managing those emotions, embracing the occasion, and not letting the moment, take you out of the way that you want to play and what you want to do on the field.
No, for sure, Drew. And yeah, hopefully I didn't make it sound like we're just going in without any sort of plan and just going off emotion, because obviously, like any game, right? But this game is a little bit different. But like any game, obviously, coaches, they're going to have they're going to have a plan. They're going to have they're going to do absolutely everything possible to make sure that the Rapids players are prepared and ready to go tactically. But as you mentioned, Drew, once it comes down to it, it's a matter of like keeping those tactics in mind, but then also the emotions in check, right? Because this is just one of those games, right? So you mentioned your
Mike,
key to the
that's
match.
why the coaches are the coaches, and you and I are on the podcast, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason that's the case. So yeah, it's This isn't a free kind of willy nilly sort of like. Despite the occasion of the game, it's not just sort of willy nilly, and everybody goes out and hopes for the best based on emotion and just drive, right? But based off what you had mentioned, Drew, I want to go off your key to the match in terms of like some of the intangibles that we talked about, right? For me, it's just going to be about like show that you want it more. Earn the right to play is
Yeah.
something that I've always heard Chris Little mention, right? Is show that you want it more. Again, as we said, there's going to be tactics involved, like from both coaches and both sides. But this is just one of those games where emotions have to be in check. Mentally, you have to be fully tuned in, so as to not let yourself get carried away with the emotion of the game, right? This is just one of those games. But on top of that, just be able to show that you want it more. Win second or third balls, going for that slide tackle, but being mindful that you're not earning yourself a card along the way, right? But like this is one of those where you're gonna it's gonna be. I'd imagine that this game is going to get pretty physical. It's going to be emotional. But in the end, if the Rapids, I think, show that they just want it more in every sense of that phrase against the Real Salt Lake, that's maybe where they find the edge against Real Salt Lake. And again, like considering where the Rapids are right now with this five game winless streak, maybe this is what they need, is just like a game like this where they show they just simply want it more and are able to earn all 3 points by just showing that they have more drive, they have more determination, are just more willing to put in the work compared to Salt Lake. We're a team that we know is willing to put in the work themselves. That's no secret either. So if the Rapids simply just show that they want it more, as simple as it sounds, right? It's much easier said than done. But if the Rapids, I think, show that they want it more, paired with the fact, as you mentioned, Drew, that they're just going to have to keep the emotions in check. Hopefully, we're talking about Rapids walking away with 3 points at the end of the night here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park against their biggest rival.
Sounds like a gameplay, man. I think they're two evenly matched teams that, are playing each other just at the right time because they hate each other. Because this, whoever wins this match, could go on a good little stretch here, because that's what derby victories can do for you. And I think if you go in and you manage your emotions and you've given everything you've got and you want it more than them, and with the willingness to overplay at times, find the moments to go and be opportunistic, I think you set yourself up extremely well to take all 3 points from your rivals.
Sounds good to me, Jerby. Sounds good to me. Spoken like a man who's actually played in some of these matches before and knows what it's like. So,
oh yeah.
So that's going to do it, Jerby. Unless you had anything else you wanted to cap off with, that's going to do it for us for what is the second episode of a second podcast this week, man. It's busy season, no?
It is, yeah, and fans, like, come on out, put your burgundy on. Like I said, this is a fun match, and we've got the Rapids Unified team playing afterwards for the Rocky Mountain Cup as well. Stay and support them. It's going to be a fun Saturday night. I'm looking forward to getting on that plane later on this afternoon, getting back to Denver, and preparing ourselves for a fun weekend.
You and me both, Drew, and hopefully the rest of the Rapids fans that we have here in Colorado are able to tune in, obviously. So as you mentioned, Drew, just so that everybody gets a refresher on like dates, times, and everything.
Yeah.
The big one this Saturday against Real Salt Lake, to what is the first of a 2-leg series this season for Rocky Mountain Cup. Saturday, May 17th, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Dick's Sporting Goods Park is the place to be for that matchup this Saturday. But as you mentioned, Drew, it's not the only Rocky Mountain Cup matchup that we have. We have our Rapids Unified team playing after the first team. So fans, please make sure that you're tuned in and staying for that match, because that is also just as important. That match is just as important as it is with the first team. And if you also do stay for that match, that there are certain prizes, giveaways, what have you, things like this that are available if you do stick around for the Rapids Unified match, as well as if you needed more incentive to stick around and support all the Burgundy boys and gals representing the Colorado Rapids. So I'm just looking forward to it, Drew. Like again, like I said, this is the one that I circle on the calendar and I'm always looking forward to, because I really always want to get the better of RSL. We did it last season, and I'm really hoping to kick off the series this season on a good note.
Well, the preparation has already begun here in San Diego. So, like I said, it should be a fun weekend.
All right, lovely, Drew. So to you and the team, hope you guys have safe travels back to Denver later today. I'll be seeing you, if not tomorrow, at Saturday at some point for this important match against Real Salt Lake, again, to kick off Rocky Mountain Cup for the 2025 season. So that's going to do it from us here for this second episode of the podcast this week. So my thanks to our production team, Rich and Miles. Drewby, of course, all the way over from San Diego. Like I said, safe travels, man. We'll see you either tomorrow or on Saturday for match day. I've been your host, Mike Rivolo. Everybody, come out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park, support your Burgundy boys because it is a big one. We'll see you guys on the next one.